Like many coaches out there, I started filming workouts from the comfort of my own home during 2020. And during that time, I had to learn a lot of different skills: filming, editing, lighting, sound, and even interior design. And that is probably my weakest skill set, so I am thrilled to have Fiverr as the sponsor of today's video. Fiverr is a freelance services marketplace where you can hire someone to do anything from edit your social media content to help you create a capsule wardrobe. And I recently used Fiverr to help redesign my studio space, and I am excited to share with you the whole process. But before we dive in, we have to take a stroll down memory lane and look at the evolution of the spaces that I've filmed in. All right, this is going to be a little brutal to get through, but here we are. So like I said, I started teaching from our apartment, which actually was not this apartment, back in 2020 when, you know. So let's take a look at the old apartment. So this was one view that I would use. This was facing the television. You can see my couch in the background. You can see that I have rolled up a carpet. Nothing is branded. I like these little titles I'm doing on the side. That's a nice editing touch. There's wires in the background. This was very like makeshift. Then I had a second view for workouts where I didn't need to stand up all the way. So a lot of my like mat workouts and core workouts were done facing this angle. And I will say, even though you can see a lot of stuff in the background, I don't mind this angle as much. We have a random Captain America shield hung back there. We got twinkle lights. I do feel like part of the allure of 2020 was like you did get an inside view into people's homes and get a little bit more personal touch from them. Now, obviously, it's not ideal having a trash can in the back of my workout, but I did always prefer this view if I could make it work. All right, so then December 2020, we moved into our current apartment. I have an entire video of doing like a blind walkthrough of the apartment, unfurnished, before we put anything in here. And you can see the space is pretty darn big. So I was very, very excited to fill it with a bunch of stuff. So we get into the era of the black mat. So all we've got in the room at this point are those curtains. Wow, I didn't actually realize I've had those for that long. We've got the black mat. We have a camera battery charging on the side. This god-awful closet door. And then you can see the paint on the walls is kind of like a yellowish white. I realized two things about having this black mat. First thing I noticed about this mat was that if I was wearing anything black, I blended right in, whether it was just my shoes, whether it was the full outfit. And then the other thing I quickly realized was that if I just looked at this mat wrong, it would get dirty immediately. All right, and then this is a false, this is a false thumbnail. Then we moved into what I like to call the cardboard box era. I decided to get this wood-looking mat, which is tan, obviously, and put nothing else in the room to help redecorate it. So the whole room just kind of looks like I'm working out in a cardboard box. Like I said at the beginning of the video, not an interior designer, so I really had no idea what I was doing. And it took me a long time to figure out that I much preferred cool tones rather than warm tones. And a lot of this happened when I actually paid someone to do the branding for my business. So in, I believe 2022, I decided to upgrade the space. I did it all myself. I actually made a whole TikTok kind of breaking down the process, but I painted the walls. I put a curtain over the closet door, spent like $200 more on a different type of rubber mat, and I finally unplugged my camera battery from the wall. So this is what the space looks like now. Oh, and I got this mirror. Honestly, for having no experience in decorating a space, I think I did a pretty good job. I like the fact that the curtain is sheer. I think that it kind of opens up the space a little bit more. Same thing with the mirror. I like that it reflects the overhead lights because I think they're pretty, and I think it just gives a little more dimension to the space. But there are definitely a few things that I don't love about the current space that I have. So we're gonna come over here first. Obviously, I've been training people all morning, so it's a little bit of a mess, but these miscellaneous outlets, I just don't love having visible in the space. It doesn't look great when I film, so I'm hoping to just cover at least one of these up. All right, then we're coming over to this frame. This might look like mold, but it's actually just the wood coming through. So I've already repainted this room and I painted this a fresh coat of white, and the wood just ends up coming through for some reason. So I've been told maybe a primer on top and then the white paint can help. So we're gonna figure that out. Then making our way to the doors. I love these French doors. I actually don't mind these curtains, but I don't love the fact that they're on the inside. I also don't love the fact that you can see through into the living room and the kitchen. So Kevin behind the camera is actually convinced that he's like naked in the back of a workout somewhere. So ideally, I would love to get these on the outside of the door, but you can just kind of see, Kev, if you want to come up closer here, I feel like I'm going to ruin the door if I don't have a professional do this. And then I'm going to have to, what is it called? Caulk? When you like fill it in? Back up, I don't look very good today. But basically, I would have to fill these holes, repaint it, make sure I don't get it on the mirrors. So we'll see what we can do about this. I'm gonna poke around and see if there's some options. Then moving over this way, this closet door, you saw in the before photos, I used to just have it like in the frame. It's just a wood door and it doesn't really fit the cool tone. Personally, I don't mind this curtain on top, especially because I think that the mirror just kind of breaks it up a little bit. Even though you can see the wood through it a bit, I don't think it looks too bad, but I'm interested to see what the designers think. So coming down onto the floor, you can actually see that I have two mats. So this is that original mat that I had down. Ignore how broken up these are. We're gonna fix these this weekend. But you can see I have the black mat and then I have this like bluish wood mat on top. I don't love the fact that you can see this underneath. Kevin disagrees, thinks that it gives the room dimension. Again, something we're gonna play with this weekend. So once I had my two designers set, I ended up sending them a sample workout in the space, a photograph of the space, my personal website, since that tells them a little bit more about my business and my brand, the dimensions, as well as a Pinterest board. So I want to show you the inspiration here. So what I'm going for is basically just very crisp, kind of simple, classy home studios. I love the idea of having mirrors because I think that it opens up the space a lot. And I did make a note that a lot of the things I pinned were more of that like warmer tone. I feel like that's very in right now, like the sad beige look. But I definitely prefer a cooler tone overall. So I made sure to also include some of the colors that I already incorporate in this room. All right, let's talk a little bit about the hiring process and the two designers that I went with. I wanted to see what the difference is in quality and rendering between two different price points. So my first one here is from David, and this was at the $35 price. David was super quick and responsive, which I really appreciated. And this is the final product for $35. I think this incorporates a lot of the elements that I was originally looking for from my Pinterest board. Out of this design, some things that I really like. I like the mirrors on the wall. I don't really know if I have the budget for like a full wall of mirrors, but I like the idea. And then I do like balancing that out with like a bench on this side. The current bench that I have, I love the functionality of it, but I don't love the color scheme. So we'll see if we can find something that fits the vibe of the space a little bit more. And then TBD on the giant plant. I feel like I am resisting adding a plant in this space because it's so like stereotypical, but we'll see what happens. And then my second designer was Katarina. I actually found Katarina from Shelby Church's video, which is the exact same concept as this, and that is where I got the idea for it. But I loved the renderings that she did for her apartment, so I wanted to reach out and see if she was available to do some renderings for me. Katarina also sent me some drafts along the way to get some feedback on the direction she was going, elements I liked, things I wanted changed, and I really appreciated that along the way. So she actually sent me 3 different views, and she also sent me a list on Notion of any elements if I wanted to purchase them, where I could actually get them from. So some things that I like here, I love this arched mirror on the side wall. I also love that lighting behind it, giving it a little lift and dimension. We've got this neon logo on the side here, which I think is also kind of trendy and in right now, but I think this is a nice subtle way to brand the space without it just being like all tacky on the back wall. I also love the fact that there's just something on the outside, like a curtain outside these doors. One of the biggest pain points for me is seeing through into the living room, seeing weird reflections, potentially seeing my husband naked walking by. So I'd love to figure out a way to get some curtains on the other side of the wall, but I also think that that requires hiring somebody who can help me not destroy the French doors in a very old building of an apartment that I do not own. Good morning. I know that I am super backlit, but it is really only because I wanted to show you Zoe. It is a Saturday. There is a giant box in here because the mirror has been mounted. I hired someone. So I did end up leaving the outlet uncovered because you can see this is a very thin mirror. So because I do want to either hang those LED lights around it, or if that doesn't work, some twinkle lights, I just want to make sure that I still have access to that outlet. Going on a field trip, we also had him mount this mirror in here. This is where Kevin does a lot of his strength workouts. So we were just like, why sell this mirror when we can just put it in here and check your form? So a few things I need to get done today. The TaskRabbit, who was amazing, by the way, he took the like stands off the back. So I'm basically just going to put the screws in Velcro bags, tape it to the stands, and then hide these away in a closet somewhere. Task number 2, I need to clean not only the mirrors, which I've literally never cleaned this mirror, but I also want to clean the walls a little bit in my studio. I was considering repainting. I don't think I need to repaint. I just think that I've put my hands on the wall and I've never cleaned the walls. So we're gonna do that and go from there. Task number 3, I need to figure out the floors. A lot of the rubber matting has started to peel up. I do have one extra square, but I'm gonna try and rearrange some things on the floor to make sure that the more worn pieces get filtered out with the not worn pieces, and then see if I do need to order a few replacement squares. And then finally today, we're gonna hang the LED lights. So let's start to tackle these tasks and then we'll meet back up to chat about the next steps. All right, are we ready for the grand reveal? Ta-da! Let's do a little tour. I want to leave you stationary because I want to give you like the view if you were taking a class. So biggest change is definitely this mirror. We've got the full arched mirror here. We've got the LED lights around it. I will say I'm not sold on the LED lights quite yet. I think it's because you can see the individual dots and I kind of wanted more of like a strip, like a back glow. The issue is that I cannot find any that are in a cool tone. So I'm gonna keep looking. I might replace these. I also have been trying to find a white adapter instead because I just don't love the look of the black one against the wall. I have now purchased and returned 2 because they were advertised with the wrong voltage. Anyway, that's something that we're gonna switch out. I did give this border a fresh coat of white paint. I also painted over this. Shh, don't tell my landlord. And I think that just makes the space look a little bit crisper. I decided to keep these same curtains for now. That's gonna be a bigger project if we want to tackle that, hiring somebody put the curtains on the outside. Again, I am just terrified I'm going to ruin these beautiful doors. Then we get into the floor. So I did end up rearranging some of the tiles as you saw, and I actually shifted it over this way. Now what I decided to do literally yesterday was buy 2 more squares because this is actually really bothering me now. I don't know why it never really bothered me on that side. So what I'm going to do is basically take these guys off, attach the new squares, and then cut it so it's flush with the wall. I also finally realized why this space always feels a little crooked, and it's because the floors and the ceiling are on an angle. So nothing is ever like fully straight. This isn't like a rectangular room. It's shaped very weirdly. So once I realized that, I was like, okay, this is how I fix it. I'm gonna get that flush across. Coming to the other side of the room, we're keeping the sheer curtain again for now. I feel like the sheer and the sheer works well together. It has the pom-poms on it. I spent a lot of money on this brand new bench. So this is the exact same Reebok deck that I had before. It's just, I don't know if it's like an older model. Literally, I only found this on Walmart's website. They do not sell this variation from the Reebok site. So it must just be older and like I got one of the last ones. But I think that this really amplifies the space because it actually matches the vibe of it. And then coming up here, we have my logo. So when I originally ordered it, I actually thought in the email that my contact told me because it was so small, it wasn't gonna light up, and it obviously has a cord and does. I'm not really sure what I'm gonna do with it. I might take those lights off and then just have this one. What I'd have to do is basically just get a longer cord, run it under the mat and then back there and into the outlets because we don't have power on this side of the wall. Not a big deal at all, just kind of these little tiny projects that are gonna keep on happening. But that's also kind of what I've been doing since 2020, just taking these little tasks as they come and trying to make things a little bit better along the way. I also think the beauty of having a home space is that it can have kind of that imperfect personal touch. I don't want the space to feel really sterile. I don't want it to feel like every other YouTuber's workouts that are put out there. You know, if you can see through the door and you see Zoe walking by, I think people really like that. But we're also gonna draw the line there and hope that no one's seeing my husband walk by naked. So one more time, huge thank you to Fiverr for sponsoring this video. I do have a link below in case you would like to hire a Fiverr freelancer for honestly kind of anything. If you have any questions, leave them down below. Make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out, and I will see you all in the next one.